So, and welcome back to another episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. Yesterday's episode was actually unable to be uploaded for whatever fucking reason. I do not understand why. I really don't. Might be due to just some exporting issues, some other shit. I really can't tell. But, well, it is what it is. I'm gonna have to try today again. It was a bit of a pity that there was no episode yesterday because of that, and I would also assume also no podcast episode. So, a strange thing actually happens really seldomly, but I thought about sleep a bit more than I thought about uploading another podcast. Still, we're gonna go through, I would assume nothing until I am sorted, at least to some degree. I should be fine. Anyway, there's also an intro. I should use the intro because I'm having an intro. So here's the intro, I guess. The art of worldly wisdom. I would assume that we're gonna go through that one as well, and we're gonna go ahead with it. Where is it? There it is. There we go. It's a bit too big, but I guess that is it. There we go. We went through actually a few points already, and there are still a few left, of course, and still a few that are really interesting, and I think also useful. The last time, as far as I can remember at least, we went through 274, be charming / attractive. Where I just had to say, be attractive. Yeah. Be trustworthy, fly with the eagles. Take notice of the bad behavior of others. It should be a warning and not an example. Bad behavior is not an example to imitate, it's but to defend yourself from. Your own integrity can be ruined by the ruinous behavior of others, but the honorable man does not forget who he is because of what others are, and also what others do, and just doing things because other people do them themselves. Also not, necessarily the best idea, also not necessarily like a thing that I would suggest anyone to do, but yeah, anyway. Note, one of the truly most powerful maxims of them all, it takes a great man to maintain integrity in the midst of competition and Machiavellism. No, it's actually Machiavellianism. There we go. Match strategies. The following maxims can be considered Machiavellians, in the sense that they are potentially effective while being amoral and potentially manipulative and value-taking. Make people depend on you. He who is strongly shred would rather have people need him than thank him. Vulgar gratitude is worth less than polite hope, for hope remembers and gratitude forgets. You will get more from dependence than from courtesy. He who has already drunk turns his back on the well, and the orange already squeezed turns from gold into mud. When there is no longer dependence, good manners disappear, and so does esteem. The most important lesson experience teaches is to maintain dependence and entertain it without satisfying it. This can hold even a king, but don't carry it too far, leading others astray by your silence or making their ills incurable for your own good. Is not a good idea. Actually, quite a horrible one. I do understand the whole thing, and I do also understand in general things that, might be, and I do want to underline, might be amoral. And, well, I would argue, if you think about, whether something is amoral or it isn't, then it probably really is. Because, if you have to think about it, it probably is not a good idea, and it probably isn't a good thing either. So you should probably not do whatever it is all about. period. Just having to delete a few files here in the background so that everything is fine and I can move on with things. Use your enemies. This sounds a bit more or less amoral, but still, let's see. Let's have a look, let's decide. Use your enemies. Grasp things not by the blade, which will harm you, but by the handle, which will defend you. The same applies to enemies. A wise man gets more use from his enemies than a fool from his friends. Many owe their greatness to their enemies. Flattery is fiercer than hatred, for hatred corrects the faults flattery had disguised. The prudent man makes a mirror out of the evil eye of others, and it is more truthful than that of affection, and helps him reduce his defects or amend them. Note, this maxim seems to suggest using your enemy in the sense of the feedback they can provide, which actually is a rather good idea. When they attack you, you know what to correct, and if you can't correct it and it hurts you, you know what you must work on, and you must work on an anti-fragile ego. If you can't correct it and it hurts you. Yes, yeah. I think in that sense, using your enemies, quote unquote, really is a good idea, as a feedback loop, as you can use so many things as a feedback loop, or just, to get feedback. But yeah, I think, well, when it comes to such things, one needs to consider, well, I like to consider legacy. Do I really want to be remembered as this person? Do I really want to be remembered as X, Y, or Z? And most often I think, well, no, not really. I do not want to be remembered as a quote-unquote bad person. I don't want to be remembered as somebody that's just, shitty or whatnot, and, whatever it may be, but I think something to think about. I think something that's, rather useful to keep in mind and have in mind, because sometimes I guess we, it's actually kind of meta as well, doing things just because somebody else does it's not a good idea, and so doing things just because somebody else suggests it, in a book, for example, may not be smart either. I think one should always think about whatever he or she is reading on his or her own, in terms of actually deciding whether this makes sense or it doesn't, whether it is a good idea or it isn't, whether it makes sense to do so or it's just does not make any sense. But still, I think one last one is working, which is know how to use scapegoats. Original title: let someone take the hit. To have a shield against ill will is a great piece of skill in a ruler. It is not the resort of incapacity, as ill wishes imagine, but is due to the higher policy of having someone to receive the censure or the disaffected, and the punishment of universal detestation. Everything cannot turn out well, nor can everyone be satisfied. It is well, therefore, even at the cost of our pride, to have such a scapegoat, such a target for unlucky undertakings. Well, I don't know. I think unlucky undertakings, probably things that, I'm just thinking about certain tasks that, nobody wants to do, and, when you're just having a group work setting type of thing, it's always like, okay, who does this? Who is willing to do this shitty thing? And, well, I don't know, like, I would do it. Because actually really often it does help the whole group to just move on and just go ahead quite. Which in the end is the most important part about, whatever this group is about, just doing the work. And, well, I don't know. Maybe it's just me and my personality, but I'm willing to take the hit quite. One needs to be conscious, though, that taking many hits, many hits, especially when it is in a row, is not a good idea. It really isn't. You know, it might actually really drive you into a space that you should not be in. You know, rather depressing, maybe just burn out, maybe, you know, maybe you just turn into an asshole. Quite, you know, which is something that happens to me as well. You know, if I constantly am in a space of just quote unquote being used, it's not a great place to be in. It's not a smart place to be in either. So don't be in this place too often, but you know, try to use your own energy for the group's good, for the I don't know, society's good might be overdone, but you know what I mean, and I know that you know what I mean. But anyway, I'm gonna end the episode there. See you soon. Bye bye.